The Cuyahoga County Finance and Budgeting Committee meeting for Monday, February 3rd, 2020 will please come to order, and the clerk will call the roll.
Calling the roll, Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Tuma,
Here.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent. Mr. Gallagher is absent at the moment. Mr. Schrein is absent at the moment. Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Baker?
Here.
We have a quorum. Also, let the record reflect that Councilwoman Conwell is also in attendance.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is public comment. Do we have anybody signed in?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the January 21st, 2020 meeting. Those minutes are in your packet. Do we have a motion?
Second.
It's been
Moved.
wait. Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for February 3rd. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. We have 2 items, and the first one is the Resolution 2020-0034.
Resolution number 2020-0034, authorizing a master services agreement with Official Payments Corporation for electronic bill payment services in connection with the county's online credit card payment program for the period June 23rd, 2015 to December 31st, 2021.
Thank you very much. Mr. Treasurer.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Councilman Miller and members of the committee. The Board of Control has requested that I come before you to discuss this agreement with Official Payments. Official Payments is the third-party processor of credit card transactions that residents can make to us either in person, online, or over the phone. When I took my current position as County Treasurer, I had a business manager in place whose job was to maintain and update all current contracts. Part of his responsibility was to make sure that we had critical contracts in place and to give senior management notice before contracts were set to expire so that we could follow bid and procurement guidelines. In the case of the third-party processor Official Payments, this was not done. In fact, I discovered in 2016 that the contract had run out in 2015. At that point, I had 2 options: rebid the contract and suspend the service, or continue the service on a month-to-month basis. I discussed the month-to-month option at length with the law department, the council's legislative liaison, and the previous fiscal officer, and agreement was reached to proceed with the month-to-month option. It is important to note here that there are no dollars exchanged between Official Payments and the county. The service is provided to us at no cost. Instead, Official Payments collects a small fee from each payment that a resident makes. And there were other crucial components to this decision. Credit card transactions are a critical part of the software solution that the county is working on to replace our current real property management system. This new software solution, called MS Govern, had initially represented to us that Official Payments would be an acceptable option to use within the implementation. It wasn't until later in the project that we were informed that Official Payments would not be acceptable to the MS Govern vendor, who is Harris Corporation. It was then that I began to research other providers and at the same time uncovered the contract situation, which was again in 2016. Here were the challenges that we faced regarding rebidding the contract at that time rather than carrying on month to month. Number 1, MS Govern, the vendor MS Govern, as I said, owned by Harris, was not going to change their position on the use of Official Payments as a credit card processor. In fact, they tried to get us to look at options that we were not aware of or were not familiar with at the time. Number 2, starting a process to select one of their preferred credit card processors would have delayed the project at that point for an unknown amount of time, with ramifications for IT Treasury, as well as the Fiscal Office. And number three, the county needed the business operations of tax collection to continue with minimal disruption. The Harris project is still ongoing, and we continue to need to use official payments until the project is finished. The project itself, the real property implementation, we are now contracted to use Key Bank as the replacement for official payments once the system is up and running. But until then, I still need official payments. Recently, the official payments informed me that their system was undergoing some upgrades and that the county would need to have a full contract in place in order for us to take advantage of those upgrades. With this proposed contract, official payments has agreed to maintain the current credit card transaction fees for the next 2 years, coinciding with the completion of Harris, the MS Govern software, which is the real property system, which also means in conjunction, we would have the key solution to replace official payments. At this point, moving forward with this new contract will mean we will have some stability with our provider, and taxpayers will not see any changes in their fees for the convenience of using credit cards to pay taxes. I also want to say that at this point, I rectified the situation with contracts. Our current procedures now give me clear visibility into the contract end dates, and my current business manager reports to me in a timely fashion on the status of the contracts that are in my department so that we can be sure that this never happens again. I thank you for your time and attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Conwell.
Just through the chair to treasurer, I just want to be clear. So when Key replaces the official payments, there will not be any fees associated
At this
for
point,
taxpayers?
Key has agreed to stick with the same rates that we currently have now, which is, I believe, 2.45% on credit cards with a minimum service fee of $3.95, and then a 1% debit card charge with a service fee minimum of $1. And that at this point, Key is going to keep what we had with official payments, and at this point, official payments has maintained the same rates that we've had.
And how long do you know a time frame of how long they'll be paying these other fees with the current provider?
The official payments has agreed to give us the same rates that they've been charging us, which has been the same rate they've been charging us since 2014.
Okay, but it's still going to switch over to Key.
That is the software that we're using, right, for the implementation, because the software vendor for MS Government will not use official payments.
And in notifying the residents, taxpayers, before they come down, how are we notifying them that there is a fee?
There's a fee on the website. Any printed materials that we have, it's been the same fees for 6 years.
Okay, just because I was in line paying my taxes and I noticed a few people didn't know about, well, they felt they didn't know about the different methods of payment and the additional cost.
Okay,
So
well,
I just wanted to make sure.
That does happen at times. I think what we've done is, we've tried press releases. Whenever we're in the community, we hand out the literature that we have. I think, are there ways that we can continue with that message? We probably could get the information quicker into the hands of maybe perhaps city councilmen. I know they've got newsletters, and we've used some of those in the past. But I'm open to any ideas on how to combat that. Most people, I think, when they come down, they're aware of the fact that if you use your credit card, there is a convenience fee for using your credit card.
And I think, does your office turn people away if they don't say they have the exact amount of what their payment is due, but they don't have that additional fee, depending if they're using a credit, not a credit card, but a check or a money order? Do we turn them away, or are they service?
We don't turn away, you can't process the credit card transaction without the fee, because that is official payments.
Okay,
But in terms of checks or anything like that, there's no additional fees that we can charge for.
only if it bounces, right?
Well, if it bounces, at this point, we eat those fees, Councilman, quite honestly.
Okay.
We eat the
Good
fee.
to know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I would like to note that Councilwoman Simon and Councilman Tron have joined the meeting. Do we have other questions? Ms. Baker, followed by Tuma.
Okay, just so I understand, Official Payment Corporation, they were the official service in 2014?
Yes.
And how long did we have them before it
The-
expired June 23rd of 15?
The only agreement that I've been able to find was a 2014 agreement only.
1
I've
year?
not been able to find anything before that,
So there was a 1 year or
a 1 year.
1 year agreement. That 1 year came and went,
Yes.
and we continued with them, and they never notified us that we need to renew.
I told them that we were, at this point, we needed to go month to month. What I didn't tell them that what I was told by my software vendor, that they were no longer going to be used. So we went month to month with them for approximately a couple of years. But upon the 2018 service meeting that I had with Official Payments, I talked to them about the situation that we're in. Of course, they were disappointed that their software could not be used for the implementation, because that was our original plan. They agreed that if we could come to an agreement on another agreement until we needed, we could put safeguards in the contract, such as the 90-day out clause. We could certainly do that, and they would work with us as best they could. And again, they have kept us with the same rates. So I mean, they've been wonderful to work with as far as that goes.
When did we understand that we were out of contract and we decided to go month to month?
2016, once the software vendor for the real property system informed us that Official Payments could not be used, that's when I realized, that was early 2016, that we were out of contract already.
And did we start making the monthly payments then at that time, or back?
We don't make the monthly payments, Councilman.
Oh.
The payments are actually, this is the transaction fees
Got it.
are paid by the
Right.
taxpayer.
So life was just going on, and they were, right, I see.
Life is just going on.
I understand. Okay, thank you. I got a picture now, thanks.
Councilman Tuma.
Thank you. Councilwoman pretty much asked the questions I was going to ask. So, my question though, so you're asking us to approve a nearly 5-year-old contract?
At this point, Councilman, what I am requesting is that we memorialize the fact that we have been working with Official Payments from 2015 to 2020. And then we have, at this point, to the best estimations that we have on our overall real property system, we need at least 2 more years of solid credit card transaction coverage while we're working on the MS Govern software.
Okay. And I mean, you indicated you went to the law director or law department?
Law department, yes. Yes, I
Law
did.
department. I mean, it probably would have been a good practice just to inform maybe this committee as to what was happening, so we don't end up in these 5-year.
I certainly understand. I did have conversations with the legislative liaison at the time.
Okay.
And this was the best solution that we could come up with in order to continue the service. The last thing I wanted to do was because of an oversight on our part to impact the taxpayers.
I understand. It's just not. It's just, I don't think it's just a good way to
I
do
understand.
business. So-
I would agree.
Okay, thank you.
is the fee that Official Payments charges the same as the fee that Key Bank is going to charge?
Yes.
And if Key Bank is eventually going to be the vendor, why do we have to wait until the new system is in place in order to switch over to Key Bank?
At this point, the MS Govern software cannot work with, I mean, we're not at the stage in the implementation to bring Key in. I mean, Key has been, they've worked with us, we've just exchanged some ideas. We've walked through some test scripts on the interactive voice response, but the implementation on the Harris side has not, it's not worked yet. So
what you're saying is that
yes.
that moving to Key depends on the new system.
Moving to Key depends on the new system unless we make the decision to map Key solution back to the legacy system that we're currently using. And that didn't make sense in terms of efficiency or cost, quite frankly, Councilman.
Understood. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Generally speaking, month-to-month contracts are a little more expensive than long-term agreements generally. Is that correct? Or how much money has this company made in this?
The company, the last figures that I received was for 2018. The company was paid $563,000 in fees by taxpayers.
That's for just 18?
That was just 18.
Okay. So there's no way to put like a not to exceed type of?
Well, the exchange of dollars is not with the county.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if we could even create a contract where there would be a not to exceed on behalf of taxpayers when we don't really know what the number of transactions are going to be. I will say that at least just based on the research I've been able to do, the number of transactions has increased each year since 2016.
Really?
So the convenience is worth it for some individuals. The convenience is worth the cost for some individuals.
Okay. And then back to Key. Why Key Bank?
Key Bank at
Was
the
it
time.
RFP?
Key Bank Key Bank at the time was our current provider of banking services. The contract for Key included language that allowed us to amend the contract in 2018 to add this additional service to the Key contract, which we have to carry over now into the next banking agreement because we're not completed yet on the real property system. So I know it's a lot, but we've got two systems here that we're trying to maintain. Official Payments is the current provider. Key Bank will be the provider for credit card transactions going forward. Their contract language incorporates this additional service.
So the additional service that Key Bank is providing, they're providing us with something currently?
No, they're going to provide us with a permanent solution to replace Official Payments because the vendor that we're using for the real property system will not work with Official Payments.
They won't work with the vendor Official Payments?
They will not.
All right, thanks.
Councilman Tron.
So what is the go live date with the vendor that will not go with Official Payments?
At this point, with time for parallel testing, Councilman, we're expecting 2021, which is
That's not a date, that's a year.
December of 2021 is what I have in the contract. So that's my drop dead.
Okay, because that's also the drop dead of the contract that you're asking us to renew, the 5-year-old contract.
That's correct.
Okay, so you're betting the ranch that we're going to go live on that date.
Yes.
What happens if we don't go live that date?
Then I would come back to you in June of 2021 to ask for an extension.
How happy do you think official payments will be at that moment in time with us?
I think as long as they're collecting the fees, they'll be happy.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay, I guess after we've made this public announcement, we're dropping them and going with Key. I just can't believe that they're going to be overly exuberant to work with us at that point in time.
Well,
We're going pretty public right now.
I mean, they understood our, they understood our predicament. Again, that was not part of the original plan, but the curveball was our software vendor.
Okay, so is there any advantage of getting our software vendor to go live sooner than this 2021, this 12/21 date? Is there any advantage to us?
I think that is the goal. I am probably being conservative with my with the agreement with official payments. I'm including time for parallel testing because obviously with a system of this magnitude, you don't want to cut off and turn on something brand new without parallel testing.
That was my point, but then we get into we're officially renewing a contract that's going to go to 2021. And if you're telling me that they're going to be out potentially $500,000 a year, if we terminate early, do we have an early termination
It's a
clause?
90-day termination clause.
Okay, so we can terminate any time. We don't have to run it all the way to
No,
12.
we don't.
Okay.
We don't.
All right, good. That's good to know. So let's make sure that we clearly have that 90 days. Switching subjects, what percentage of our people do actually pay with credit cards? Of all the taxpayers?
I can see it, but I can't recollect it. I can certainly
a target.
provide it for you.
Give me a range.
Believe it or not, it's still not the highest mode of payment. Maybe
10%, 2%?
I'm thinking between 10 and 20%.
Okay, so it's clearly not the highest.
It's not the highest. It's still mail. Still the highest.
Yeah. Well, mail would mean more than likely a check, I would assume.
Correct.
Okay, so
Check or cash. Mhm.
nobody's putting cash in an envelope.
No, but they
Okay.
will come in. They will come in.
That's over the counter they might.
Sure,
but
they will
nobody-
come in over the counter, and we use the Dropbox. Yes.
Okay, so that they're either paying by cash or check, and that's constitutes somewhere between 80 and 90% are being paid that way. Well, that's a big difference. But the reason I'm asking is, what are our costs to pursue that 80 to 90% right now versus how hard do we have to work if somebody gives us a credit card?
Well, in terms, if I understand your question, in terms of
Our cost
our
behind the
operational
counter
costs,
to
our operational cost is 5 cashiers, one manager, a couple of support staff, so that's 7, and then in the remittance area, we actually have 2 FTs and a supervisor, so that would be 10 people. The majority of our remittance payments at this point is handled by Key Bank. So our staff is handling any returns that Key Bank cannot decipher, i.e., they see a check presented and they can't read the parcel number, or they don't understand what the check may not make sense to Key. So in terms of their review, they will push it to us. That's what my staff is handling in-house. And again, it's 3 in remittance and 7 cashiers.
So 10 people.
10 people.
Okay, at a fully burdened rate of $65,000, something like that?
Including fringes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's costing us $650,000. All right. I'm just trying to get to a number as to whether or not we're dissuading people from using credit cards because of the fee. We call it a convenience fee, but how much work do we have to do to process the credit card from our end?
The credit cards, Well, the official payments allows over-the-counter credit card transactions as well as over the phone. And based on what I've seen, the statistic that I've seen, about 80% of our credit card transactions are not done at the counter, i.e., they're either calling on the phone or they are using their own web service to hook up with our website.
So none of those 10 people are getting involved in that transaction?
None of those 10 people are getting involved in that transaction.
Okay.
I will say this, Councilman, if I think I know where you're going.
Well, I'm going to go eventually to the cost and what we done to analyze it. I'll just lay out my questions. What have we done to do it? What's the bad debt base? We probably don't have a bad debt on a credit card, so that's
Correct.
somebody else's responsibility.
Correct.
We don't have to collect that money from the credit card.
Correct.
We don't have to set up any payments when they fail to make that. That's all being done by the credit card company. So all those things are charges. I'm just trying to figure out who's getting the convenience out of this. I think we're getting a big convenience out of it, Lon.
Well, I think I understand where you're going. What I would say to you is this: in the community that we have, I don't think we're ever going to be able to get away from over-the-counter operations. The 5 cashiers that we have now, I believe, is maybe 3 or 4 less than we had in our previous facility. Credit card transactions are increasing. Just to give you an example, 2016 we were at 18,000. 2017 we were at 23. 2018 we were at 25,000, and then just ended 2019 we were at 32,000. So between mail and credit card transactions, what I think I see, and this is just anecdotal evidence, is less evidence of foot traffic. Now, I've got to go back and look at those numbers, but I think we're going to get there. But at this point, I can't tell you when I'm going to have a over-reliance on over-the-counter personnel that I don't need.
Yeah, and plus the fact that we're not chasing the money.
No, we're not.
It automatically builds in. If somebody wants to use 6 months to pay their credit card, we don't have that structure set up, but the credit card company does. And I'm just trying to see whether or not we've done some business case studies that says it would be to our advantage to go from 10% of the usage to 40%, for example. Would it save us costs? Would it save us collection? Would it save us the bad debt? Would it save us having to write stuff off? Would it save us having to send things to collection? Having to save tax lien sales? I mean, that's all the rest of the world uses credit cards for a reason, as an encouragement, and we're doing it as a discouragement. And I just would hope that maybe we're using that. This is a perfect time. We're entering into this. We're not entering into a new contract. I guess we're signing a contract that we entered into only 5 years ago. So why wouldn't this be also a good time to see, do we want to encourage more people? Is it to our best interest? Can we save some money? Can we actually give them a convenience, split the fee, whatever, to push people to go that way? And I can tell you that there's probably plenty of people who would say, geez, I love it, because when I could pay my kids' tuition using credit cards, man, that was a no-brainer. I gave it to them until they realized the tuition had just gone skyrocketing, but I used credit cards as long as I could. And so I think a lot of people, we might find it would be a lot of cost reduction on our part if we did a business case study out there. So that's my encouragement. It's nothing to do with this, other than the fact that this has a credit card component to our discussion. Thank you.
Ms. Conwell.
To the chair, to the treasurer, I don't think I'm clear. I just need some confirmation on why our software vendors can't work with official payments.
Councilman, that's probably above my pay grade. There's something within the software that MS Govern uses in terms of manipulating data that they don't feel that official
MS
payments will
Govern?
allow.
I'm just trying to understand.
Sorry.
Who's MS Govern?
MS Govern is the software that we are using to replace our current MVP real property system, which is next on your agenda.
Yes, we have this very next on the agenda, and hopefully the IT people can answer your question.
And I'm going to go back, and I think I asked you this in person. So because I need to answer these questions if someone comes. The postmark payments, the mail is you stated that our mail is our biggest mode of receiving payments. If the payment is mailed in, are we looking at the postmark payments? Are we accepting them as on time or late?
Anything postmarked January 30th is on time.
And to Jack's point, does the easy payment plan impact what Jack was talking about? And as well as people when they're on payment plans and things like that? I don't know how that connects with official payments.
Okay. Easy Pay is a methodology of paying your taxes in advance. That's all it is. So we provide some communication to the taxpayer. We allow them. They're given the option of mailing in a check with a coupon. If they need that visual reminder, or some taxpayers opt for a debit card transaction. So Easy Pay is just a way to pay your taxes, pay your current taxes
They have
early.
to do that here, though, right? They can't do that with official payments.
No,
Okay.
No.
And so that's why I was wondering if the different setups of how we have it, if that impacted what Jack was talking
no, not with official payments, but we do. I mean, the taxpayer can allow us to access their debit card, and we'll create an ACH, pull the file over on the date that we tell them.
And then that would be connected with official payments at that point?
That connects to our current MVP software, and in the future, MS Govern.
And MVP stands for?
Oh boy, Mass Valuation
Okay. It's not Kobe.
Manatron Visual Property
Thank you. Thank
Tax
you.
System.
So, Mr. Treasurer,
Yes, sir.
how many companies other than Official Payments Corporation would be capable of providing this particular service?
I've been approached by at least 3 other vendors during my appointment, so I know of at least 3 others.
Okay.
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what rates they would charge and how long the implementation would take. But yes,
Okay, so my question is suppose that we're going to say that we're going to approve this contract only through June 30th of 2020, and that in the meantime, we are going to bid out the remaining 18 months, and maybe the rate-paying public can get a better deal through the advantage of competition. How practical or impractical would that be?
To introduce another implementation on top of the real property system, as well as the ERP, would be a bit of a challenge for my department. I don't know, because I was not here during the implementation for official payments. I don't know. I can't give you practically what that would mean in terms of the planning and executing of such a project. So I'm at a loss to tell you, Councilman. I think it would cause some hardship, because I don't know what the resources are that would be available from IT as well, because I would need them to create a new system that I'm going to be replacing in approximately 2 years.
So suffice it to say, this is not something you're immediately excited about, because it's not something they can just take over and do on their own. It would require considerable implementation.
I'm assuming there's some considerable implementation. Again, I'm not an IT professional, but I'm just making that assumption, yes.
Okay. Ms. Baker.
I'm not quite sure, but I'll just ask it. The Official Payments Corporation has been doing business as usual and really without a contract.
Yes.
So why is it that And they too did not bring it to our attention that they were out of contract, so there is a breakdown on their end too.
Well, they
isn't
knew.
there?
No, they knew, and we did have a conversation in 2018, and I explained to them the situation that I was in. So they've known.
But in June 23rd, 2015,
Oh,
on June 22nd, 2015, when their contract ended, they did not bring to your attention that, hey, this contract's ending, we better, right? So they too missed.
well, I don't, because my business manager at the time is now left the county employment. I can't say that. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, given that that much time has passed and they've been made whole by what they're receiving,
Yes.
why is it, and maybe it's a legal question, why is it we can't just start the contract when it's approved today? Why do we have to go back to 2015? They've been made whole. They've certainly must have been a breakdown on their end and a breakdown on our end. Is there a legal reason why we have to go back to 2015?
I believe at this point, we're just trying to memorialize the fact that we've been working with this company since 2015. Now,
Jonathan McGorry, the Law Department. Speaking very generally, contracts will provide protections for both the vendor and the county. So if something is discovered that happened previous to this date, we'd want a contract in place to say who's responsible for what and go through that, as opposed to going and trying to figure that out without a contract to guide us.
Councilman Tuma.
Just hitchhiking off Councilwoman Baker's line of questioning. So when the contract did initially expire in what was it, 2015? So I was initially under the impression that this company was the only company out there. So why not put it out to bid again and maybe get a better deal?
at the time, in 2015, I didn't know that the contract was expired. When I discovered it in 2016, quite frankly, Councilman, the uncertainty of having to go out and find a new vendor when I couldn't guarantee that I was going to get the rates that I already had, I didn't think that was something that I wanted to put on to impose on the taxpayers. So we went with the month-to-month option, assuming it was legal to do so. We would go with the month-to-month option. I keep everything the same while we were working on the larger project.
So why not go month to month and put out a bid while you're continuing with that company?
I mean, that option was discussed, but
Because it just seems to me sitting in limbo until something, something happens. I just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It just, these memorialized things, this happened once before in something we did earlier. I don't recall what it was. I know Councilman Schron's shaking his head. So I just don't like doing this. I understand, circumstances sometimes dictate this, but again, it's, this isn't the private sector. This is taxpayers' money, and people, you should have a contract. You should have a contract. It shouldn't be operating without. This isn't. We're not renting property, doing month to month here. This is a service. So,
Okay, well, I'm going to say what I'd like to do, and Ms. Baker, you can either say you want to talk now or a little bit later. But what I'd like to do, since we have these two closely related items on the agenda, is that I would like to just table this item for a little bit and hear the presentation on the Harris system. And then after we hear that, then we'll come back and deal with this. But I will recognize Ms. Baker before we move on to Harris.
Because it's more of a thought process, and maybe I missed it in your presentation. Mm-hmm. You're asking us now in 2020 to continue from 2015, but you recognized that there was a problem in 2016 and decided to go month to month, why didn't you come to us as soon as you recognized there was a problem and do what we're doing today, so we're not going so far back? Was there a reason why today and not back in 2016?
Quite honestly, Councilman, I never thought that we would be in a situation where I'm still waiting on other concurrent systems that would make that decision much easier. I never thought I'd be here with this.
Even though this
particular
contract ends in 2021?
Even though this contract ends in 2021, because at this point now, based on the information that we have with our current vendor, we think we can land, not the current vendor, with our current software implementation partner, we think that we can land the agreement, we can land the project, the real property replacement, in 2021. And so I'm just trying to be safe and have coverage in case for whatever reason we actually come in a little, if we come in a little sooner, I can get out of the contract with a 90-day notice to official payments. Presumably, if we're ready to go, KeyBank can bring their system live, and then I can have a cutover, but I'm still covered in case there's problems with the implementation.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna suspend this for a little bit and hear about Harris, because I think the committee's gonna find this interesting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Director, welcome. And what I'd just by way of background, I would point out that, as everybody knows, we've been kind of focused on the ERP system because it's such a larger operation, and we've had to deal with a lot of things. But at the same time, we've been working on this separate system, the Harris property tax system, and it too has had quite a history. So I would kind of like for you to start from the beginning and explain when this project was conceived and what the plan was and how it proceeded, and take us to where we are today.
Okay, I will do my best. The current system we had was installed in 2002. What happened at the time, as you know, we had some issues with the tax bills recently, and the current system is limited in what it can do. And the decision was made years ago to go ahead and upgrade and bring this system along. I think at any time it would have been 18, 19 years old. I think that was about the life expectancy of most systems. So in January of 2016, the project was kicked off. The contract was signed in October of 15, and then January of 2016, the project was kicked off. From February of 2016 through August of 2016, we were documenting our business processes, basically everything were in the current system and what we wanted into the new system. And I'll give you a quick history of the schedule right now. On July 7th of 2016, the projected go-live date was January of 2018. So I think that kind of falls in line with what Mr. Murray was thinking from the original project. In
Go-live date was when?
In July of 2016, it was predicted to go live in January of 2018.
Okay.
Then in September 27th of 2017, the predicted go-live date was then July of 2018. In April 30th of 2018, the projected go-live date was October of 18. July 11th of 2018, the predicted go-live date was March of 19. April 14th of 19, the projected go-live date was October of 19. August 1st of 2019, the projected go-live date was December of 2019. September 17th of 2019, the go-live date was January of 2021. And here we are, we still obviously are concerned that that will even be achievable. So let me go back to a couple things that started here. Once again, I mentioned from February through August of 2016, they were working on the business processes. The original data conversion was scheduled to be completed in 2018. We still have not seen that yet right now in January of 2020. One of the main things that happened was Harris hired a new data conversion analyst this was in 2018, who dismissed all the work from 2015 to 2018. And still outstanding issues and rework was later scheduled to be completed by March 2019, and once again, that deadline was missed. So one of the big issues I think I want to point out with the project was, unlike the ERP, the project team, the project company, Harris, had a lot of changeovers. They lost 8 key members of their team, and the county at the same timeline only lost 3. And the 3 we lost, we're very fortunate to have some people that have been around for a long, long time to help us oversee. So we were able to pretty much, take that loss of our staff in stride. Whereas with the Harris loss, it was a very big hit to the project. As you know, I became the interim in October of 19, and right away, the first week I was here, I was met by the project team and asked if we could, sit down and discuss this project. I listened to the very first project update meeting that the team was listening to. I think it's every 2 weeks they have a live call from the Harris team. And I felt in listening to that conversation that we weren't hearing anything that was of value. And I looked at our project team's faces and I could see at the same time that the same confusion, the same frustration that, this was just getting kicked down. So after that meeting, I scheduled a meeting with Jonathan and the law department, and we sat down and said, we need to put the team on notice, the Harris team on notice, that we're not happy. Nothing has been done, in writing up until that point. So in meeting with Jonathan, we did draft a letter to Harris on November 19th, and we did send it to them. And basically, we outlined a couple of issues that we wanted addressed, and we wanted them addressed by the end of the first quarter of 2020. One of the main ones was we didn't want to be paying maintenance on a system that we couldn't use. The contract actually had in there that we were required to pay maintenance on the system. The second issue that we asked them to address was we wanted the data conversion completed, which means taking it out of our old system, putting it in the new system, and running a basic tax bill. In addition, we wanted to get just an overall better customer experience with the software. I guess it's very cumbersome. It was very hard to run. It would take a long time to run. As I mentioned before, another item was a complete tax bill. And then, once again, project communication. I felt on that initial call that I had when I sat in on the initial meeting that the project manager at the time wanted it to be a little more upfront, but they kept, living up to these dates that were unrealistic. So that letter went out, and I'm happy to say that a meeting was scheduled between myself, law department, the vice president, a new vice president, I should say, from Harris, and the project manager. We had that meeting on December 19th, in which they came in and they assured us that they were committed to this project in getting it done. They also revealed to me that they actually have spent a lot more than they've actually billed us on the project, and that they would, have something significant to us by the end of the first quarter. So about a week later, December 24th, we received from Harris a email communication basically stating one of our requirements, the maintenance agreement, that they would stop the maintenance agreement going forward. They would prorate it from July through October, which would result in a $360,000 decrease to the county, and we wouldn't be paying that any further until the system was up and running. This was something that we met with law again to make sure wouldn't impact anything else in our letter, and we went ahead and accepted that on January 8th. Once again, on January 27th, I received an email that one of the members that I met with in that meeting in person was no longer working from the project. I believe he was fired. I was told that they now have a new person who's very experienced in running these types of conversions and has had, I believe, 7 or 8 successful conversions under his belt. And he assured me that this guy would see the project through. And so also he wanted to meet with me on February 12th to actually February 13th, to introduce me to the new project lead and to reassure their commitment. I will say that we had our last update, it was 2 weeks ago, I believe, if my memory serves me well, where one of our other items was met, where they have done the conversion successfully and they have ran a tax bill. They were very optimistic. Once again, they diverted, or I should say realigned their developers and the project team. And it's very optimistic that they're trying to meet this deadline of the end of the first quarter. They assured us that they have done a generic tax bill and they're working on some of the more complicated computations. And they're, thrilled to have that done, or at least they're expecting to have that done by the end of this first quarter. In our letter, we had indicated that at the end of the first quarter, we would reevaluate where the county would head and what direction we would go. At the same meeting, I was once again confirmed, and they stated again that they were determined to get this successful. And I do know for a fact, as I mentioned earlier, that they have spent a lot more than they have billed us. And here we are now waiting for them to actually deliver the tax bill to us so we can start testing the basic one. But it's been a long, drawn-out battle, and I can't speak for the 4 years that's been back and forth, but I do believe it had a lot to do with turnover of personnel on the project team. The contract that we have, just so you know, it's pay to complete. We only pay after they complete and deliver something to us. And maybe that's the part of the reason why, the county didn't take a more active role in the beginning, because we weren't going to pay them unless they delivered. And if they were spending more money and not billing us, it was really mainly a loss on their books. And the reason I suspect that is probably if they can successfully deliver a product in Cuyahoga County, they can maybe sell it to the other 88 counties. So with that, I'd be happy to try and answer some questions. I know it's not a blow-by-blow detail, but there's been, throughout all those years, there was information shared about how we do things. It's been back and forth, back and forth. But once again, that reset in 2018, when that new project manager decided to just, throw all that old information out, I think that really set us back. So,
Is January 2021 still the go-live date?
truthfully, that's what they're saying. Optimistic. Our team, I believe, would I think if they can deliver it, they're going to have to start showing us now that they can do it. There's a lot more that has to be done between now and then. But to get these first couple steps, like I said, we got the maintenance waive, we got a conversion that's just about done, and we got a tax bill. Now, mind you, those last two we haven't seen yet, but we're optimistic based on our last phone call that it will be there.
Well, when you look at the ERP system, they're doing much better now than they were 6 to 12 months ago in terms of, they're planning to go live on a bunch of stuff in April, but they have a set of things almost week by week between now and then that have to happen on schedule. If the integrated systems testing on the payroll system doesn't take place at the time it's supposed to take place, and the user acceptance testing doesn't take place when it's supposed to take place, then we know that what's supposed to happen in April isn't going to happen. My question is whether we have a similarly detailed list of preliminary steps and when they're supposed to occur for this implementation, or whether we do not have that level of detail.
We do not have that level of detail, but in the letter that we submitted to them, we gave them specific, deadline, I would say, not deadlines, but, goals to achieve. Otherwise, the county would have to see what other courses of action we needed to take. Going back to the ERP in this project, there's not tremendous amount of companies that do this. It's a very limited number of number of companies. So it is a market that I know that if it's successful here, I believe Summit County is also waiting anxiously to see how we come out, because I believe that they're looking to use the same firm, Harris. I will also throw out there that our current system that we have now, the one component of it was actually bought by Harris. So, so they actually own our current system now, and, you know, they're developing our future one. So there is an end game for them if they can successfully do this, and that's where I'm trying to be optimistic, but we are frustrated on the events that actually took place up until now.
There might be some merit to thinking about adding an additional item to Zig's contract. Zig Berzins has done us a lot of good in helping to move us toward a very well planned implementation, much more detailed than what was previously happening. So we could think about that, but at this point, I'm going to open this up to my colleagues, and we're going to start with Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Mr. Chambers, you talked about these maintenance fees. How much have we paid for the maintenance fees since the inception? And we've not even been able to really use the project.
I want to say it's like about $500,000 a year. I'll punt to my team behind me, but I believe that's the ballpark.
500 a year.
Yeah, is that about right, team? Yeah. So once again, it was in the contract, so it's not. I mean, that was it. And when we asked here in October, you know, that was one of the. You know, I think part of the issue too was the software was here, we have it loaded, but it's not usable to us. But the contract was written where we had to pay that, and once, you know, in working with law, we were able to get that waived.
Okay, so moving forward, who's handling the project? Is it IT or fiscal? Who's in charge of who's the department to be held accountable?
I guess it's going to be me, but I mean, it's been a joint event, you know, since the beginning. But we are adamant to try and get this thing done, so I guess it would have to be me.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
To follow up on that point, is it you, or is there someone in your department that's under you that would be the point person specifically on the Harris project?
Yes, we actually have a team here that, you know, built just specific for this project, but don't get me wrong, they're doing other things on maintaining the old system as well. But there's a team of, I believe, 5 of us, plus or minus, but that are waiting for this to come in and start testing it and moving it. But at the same time, they're helping with the old system as well.
And who's the lead person on that
Joanne
team?
Jackson. You're my lead. I have to keep her, though. She's been here a while. She's a great asset to have. Yeah.
Councilman Tron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the maintenance is in the contract, and we were obligated to pay that $500K per year?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a go-live date in the original contract?
Well, once again, it was always on that schedule, and we, through our own actions, allowed them to continue to extend. And the reason being, and I'm only assuming at this time, we only paid as they delivered. So once again, it was, I believe I mentioned it was in 18 was the live date. The initial was January of 18.
So 1/18 was the original go-live date.
Yeah.
We did not impose any penalties for them missing that go-live date?
No, we didn't, no.
And they, in turn, imposed a penalty on us of charging us $500,000 worth of maintenance fee for a product we couldn't use.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? That we paid $1 million to maintain something that we could not even use
Once again,
for
that
those 2 years?
that first week of November, that's when we got law involved, and obviously it didn't make sense to me either. So,
Okay, does it make sense today as we sit here that we paid that? Okay, and yet it was 1/18. Did we incur any expenses from 1/18 to present date?
Well, certainly we had our project team together. We actually had a consultant on board who left us in January. But yeah, we had our project team, but as I indicated before, the project team was also helping with the current system as well.
No, I got
Yeah.
that they were doing
But
other
sure,
things.
yeah,
So is the
absolutely.
ERP.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we incurred some expenses for the last, we're now 2 years from 1/18. We're now 1/20. So in that length of time, if we would have gone live on 1/18, would we have incurred those expenses?
Well, we still would have, like, same with the ERP, we would still need a team to be, specific to that.
So there was no additional expenses from 118 to present. They're just doing their own thing and nothing else there was no additional expenses that we did for these last 2 years.
The only one that we had that was outside of our own labor was a contract for a project manager that ended in December of 2019.
Okay, so
Otherwise, we were using our own staff. And outside of that, obviously, we're maintaining the current old system as well, the software on that as well.
So would we have been paying the money on the current old system for those last 2 years?
Yes.
We would have? Would have ended in 118 if we would have gone live, wouldn't it?
Correct. We would not have paid it.
Okay, what was that cost for the last 2 years of our old system being operational?
600? 600.
So we've paid $1 million and we've incurred 600,000, that's per year or?
Per year.
So we're now at $2,200,000, if I'm understanding the math.
Yeah.
That we paid, the taxpayers have paid, and the law just says, hey, we have the right to stop making these future payments? I hope law is going to tell us a hell of a lot more than that. You're shaking your head over their law, that we have no other course of action to go after $2.2 million that we paid that we would not have incurred?
This is Jonathan McGorry again from the Law Department. As Mike said, we are currently working with this vendor, and if things, we still have avenues to look at, pursue, if deemed necessary. What law did initially was just to turn off the spigot, as it were, to say, let's stop making these maintenance payments. Not that we were entitled to. Under our contract, we had to pay these. It wasn't that.
Under our contract, do we have an obligation that they were supposed to deliver us a product at 118?
Correct, yes.
Okay, well, so let's just, don't just raise one half of the contract, raise the other half, that they had an obligation to provide us the product of which we would not have incurred an additional $1.2 million worth of current operating system that we had to maintain, and we wouldn't have paid a maintenance for a product that it wasn't been delivered yet. Mm-hmm. So you can't read just half of the document. You got to read the other half that I'm sure we had provisional opportunities to go back after them for monies that we had never intended to be paying for these last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it just seems to me that this is the time when we need to be seriously asking for significant considerations going forward. If we go live, as you're hoping to
Right.
by the end of this year,
And January of 2021, we're optimistic. We need to see huge support here. I mean, we put them on notice. We've gotten a few of the items, up until now, there was, in all honesty, to my knowledge, no written notice. There's been plenty of phone calls and conference calls of dissatisfaction. But I think, in all honesty, we got their attention with this letter, and we're going to give them the opportunity to deliver by the end of the first quarter. And as I mentioned, our last phone call, they confirmed that they have a conversion and they have a working tax bill, which is 2 of the 4 items that we actually asked for. And then obviously the maintenance rollback was another item we asked for. So I'm going to try and be as optimistic as we can. Once again, our system we have now is older. It's still functioning, but it is limited.
but it's costing us $600,000 a year. So by the time we get to that go live, we're going to put $1,800,000 into the old system. That's the 3rd year, at least if I'm just following your math. There ought to be some serious considerations from that supplier as far as waiver of maintenance fees and service and things of that nature that are really out there to be offset. I mean, when we're talking about, the taxpayers are kicking in $1,800,000 of our old system. Fortunately, we stopped paying the maintenance on it. I think they ought to be refunding our maintenance too.
I like to think we made the first step here in addressing some of those
Oh,
concerns.
yeah. The first step is the longest journey, obviously, as the old phrase goes. But whether or not it's the longest journey, we're looking at almost $3 million that we've spent on the taxpayer's dime for this product that we should not have spent.
So, how much have we paid in maintenance fees so far?
I can tell you what we've paid total, just under $6 million. It was $5,904,000. We've been invoiced $6,082,000. And we
Maintenance fees?
No, everything. I don't have it
Oh.
actually broken out. I can get that for you. I'm just giving you total paid to date on the contract.
I
Sorry.
thought-
Sorry.
I thought we didn't have to pay anything until it was delivered.
There have been deliverables up until, we have not paid anything in, I want to say 8 or 9 months until they start delivering this conversion and these other things that nothing else gets paid. But we've paid a total of $5,904,000 out of the total budget of $10,241,000.
So we have about 5 million left, is that right?
4 and some change, yeah.
So some of these things maybe could get offset against that. At least the maintenance charges and perhaps some of the what we've had to pay to keep our system up and running.
And we're going to work with law. Like I said, this was our first step, and we're hoping for some, deliverance by the end of the first quarter.
And are there things that we're expecting to see happen between now and the end of the first quarter, or is that kind of the next point where we're going to see if stuff happens?
Once again, the project team, I believe they meet weekly, or not meet, but they're on weekly phone calls, and I think every 2 weeks we have the project managers meeting. And that's, I know our last meeting that I was in on, once again, I was delivered the news that they fired the previous project manager, but they also told us that the guy they brought in has, I told you, 7 or 8 successful conversions. And I'm very optimistic that this new person should take the lead and make the corrections.
So I don't think we have any choice. We're going to have to put in place a system of regular oversight on this project in this committee until it's completed. I'm not going to say right now how frequently that needs to be and what the schedule is. We'll be in touch with you.
Absolutely,
But
no
I
problem.
I think we're going to have to get much more involved in regular monitoring of this process. Councilman Schwan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the last couple of years, you indicated we didn't have any additional costs out of our own pocket because we use our existing staff.
I was speaking staff-wise. I
Yeah,
we did
our
have the
staff,
main-
right. I'm just-
Except for the one consultant we did hire as a project manager.
Was there any overtime in the last 2 years by any of our staff charged?
I don't think so. No.
So they're working 2 jobs basically for the same amount of money. One is an implementation job, and I'm just trying to follow the path. Sadly, it's the same money path as the ERP. What was the original total contract price if everything would have worked on 118?
It's the same amount, what I just gave you, the 10 million.
Okay,
That
so
is
10
not, yeah.
So 10 million, and we're talking about here, at least just looking at the quick math that we just did, which is 1.8 million for the 3 years on maintaining the old system, and the 1.2. So we're looking at 3. So almost 30% additional cost over the 10 million.
I'll trust your math.
Well, I'm
It
just
sounds- yeah, no,
using
I
your
mean,
numbers.
Yeah.
So that's actually a higher percentage of overrun than what we had even in the ERP. Even though the dollars are smaller, it's a higher percentage of it, of cost in excess.
I don't dispute you.
Wow. Yeah, we definitely need to have this oversight, and I had no idea that this is a train wreck on it also. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Ms. Baker.
I'm just curious, and this is the first time I've heard this, so in July of 2016 and then 2018 and then continued in 18 and then finally March and October and December, all those dates that we were supposed to go live. Was there any red flags along the way for our project manager that looked at the contract and said, hey, we're still paying for this and we have not launched yet and we're paying on maintenance that hasn't been needed? Was there any, if we have I can understand perhaps our staff is busy and they're working and doing the best they can, but if we have a project manager in place, wasn't there something that he should have been aware that money is going out and nothing's coming in during those couple of years that
Yeah, I will speak for the team, and I'm sure there was, but I think the underlying factor was if they didn't deliver, they didn't get paid. So they had to produce and deliver to us and let us test things. And I think that was the only reason why. And once again, very limited companies that do this. I'd say there's 3 or 4 that I'm aware of. So I think the whole point with this is a very large, I mean, it does our tax bills for all of the county. And I think they were just willing to allow the additional time to get it right, rather than starting all over, going out for a new RFP. That would have taken a lot more time. You would have been in the same situation. So I'm assuming the logic was to allow them to continue just to get it done. But I don't think they, back in 16, like you were saying, anticipated it would be January of 2021.
So in looking back, are you in a position to justify the $500,000 that was paid for maintenance, even though there wasn't any maintenance?
Once
Would you
again,
say-
according to the contract, as Jonathan indicated, that was a requirement. The bigger issue is I'm hoping that they can deliver in January, or I'm sorry, the end of the first quarter here.
Right, but
because we have a greater conversation.
Sharon pointed out, there's 2 sides to that. We're contracted to pay for maintenance, but they're also contracted to go live. So are you in a position to say that $500,000 was justified, contract or not, that we got our money's worth for those dollars, and that we, going back and redoing it again, we would have done the same?
These are conversations that we will have with legal. I mean, this isn't the forum to say that, but I can honestly say I believe in the beginning they thought that by giving them the extra time, we would have been in the same situation had we had to rebid and same expense. But once again, no one anticipated it going this far. And as I mentioned, with all the staff turnovers on them, we did have a few, but it was an impact to us, but not to the project. So this is something that we're going to work with legal on. But we're once again, I'm hopeful that in the first quarter we'll have something very positive to move forward on.
And I agree, I think oversight is needed, and I think we should bring legal into it so that we understand what conversations are taking place as to how we're going to hopefully recoup some of the money that we didn't get performance for.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for the
Thank you.
update.
Sure, and I'll come back whenever you want. Whatever you
Okay.
want to do. Thanks.
We're now going to return to Resolution 2020-0034, Mr. Director. And when a motion has to be made that nobody else really wants to make, I have to make it. We heard the problem with the Harris system. The problems are major, and we don't want to make this any harder than it already is. I think what we need to do is to simply bite the bullet and do what you're requesting. So I'm going to make a motion to recommend Resolution 2020-0034 to the full council with recommendation for second reading suspension. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. It's recommended.
Thank you.
Any miscellaneous business? Hearing none, there being no further business, we stand adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody.